Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Wannabe Tuners, where we play around and try to go fast. My name's Eric, and in today's video, we're gonna have some fun. We're going to be taking apart the transmission in my 2009 Gen 1 Mazdaspeed 3. And, I'm quite excited because we're finally making more progress on getting the Mazdaspeed 3 back on the road. Because as you guys know, the engine had some problems. And I had to take the engine completely out and determined that the cylinder 3 had a cracked piston ring and the cylinder wall or cylinder liner was also warped. So I'm actually surprised the engine was still running, but it had really low compression on that one cylinder. So took it out, put it on the stand, and now we're gonna be basically getting it sleeved, hopefully. The thing is, it's gonna take some time because obviously it costs money, but step by step, guys, we're getting there. Gonna get the car back on the road. So in the meantime, I figured I would just do some little things here to try and make the car better so that when we get it back on the road, we're gonna be smiling a lot more often than not. So today we're gonna be taking this thing apart, and I've already ordered some brass shift fork pads from Speed Solutions. They seem to be the only company that offers the shift fork pads nowadays. So I contacted him, he's on Facebook. Check him out, Speed Solutions LLC. That's Speed Solutions LLC. I think he does engine builds as well for the Mazdaspeed community. So if you guys are interested in some engine work, from what I've heard, he's very reputable and very good at what he does. But I don't live in that area. I live in Canada, Toronto area. So, I have to kind of keep it local because getting things shipped from the US and shipping things to the US, it gets a little bit pricey. So, I'm kind of working with what I got. But we're gonna be installing brass shift fork pads into this Mazdaspeed 3, or transmission rather. And this is a completely stock Gen 1 transmission. So it's got the short gear ratios, it's just completely stock. The only thing that is not stock on it is I slightly cut the shifter weight just a little bit, which I can show you in a second here. I cut it because I had to clear the piping for the 6-port auxiliary fuel kit, because I made some custom piping for that. And when I would shift, it would kind of touch the piping. So I had to lob off a little bit of shifter weight, but it still has the majority of the weight on it. Probably I took off maybe like 1.5 inches or something. The other reason why we're going in here is because, excuse me, over the years I've grinded third gear hundreds of times, guys. And I figured if we're gonna go in there and put some brass shift fork pads in, why not address some of the issues with third gear grinding occasionally. It would grind third gear rarely, but it would still do it once in a while. Like it still went into gear most of the time, driving normally, but I would have to make sure that I was 100% on the clutch. And I don't really know why it was only third gear. It seems to be maybe third gear is a pretty common gear for us Mazdaspeed guys to grind. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it might be. Second gear I grinded here and there, but not so much. So I figured I would just leave second gear alone. What we're gonna do is when we get in there, we're gonna replace third gear, and we're also gonna replace the synchronizer ring set for third gear. I also wanted to replace the shift sleeve for third gear, but unfortunately it's a discontinued item. So we're not gonna be able to do that. We're gonna have to reuse it. Hopefully it's not in too bad a condition. From what I've read online, you can kind of deburr the teeth on the sleeve a little bit just to smooth it out and stuff like that. So hopefully we're good. This is where I cut the shifter weight that I was talking to you about. And I just took off about 1 inch or so because it used to come out to like here. And when you would shift, it would come into contact with the piping. So I just cut it off, no big deal. It still works perfectly fine. I've actually practiced dismantling the transmission. This is actually a spare Gen 2 transmission that I had sitting in the garage for like 4 years. I bought it for $200 cash. And the reason why I bought it was because initially I was gonna install it into my Gen 1. I kind of thought that it would be kind of cool to have slightly taller gear ratios to help put power down a little bit more effectively. But the reason why I never got around to doing that swap was because the casing on this transmission was actually broken right here. And I think if I remember correctly, the guy I bought this off of, it was his friend's car, and the car was apparently involved in an accident. So I wasn't really gonna use this casing. I mean, I could have probably found somebody to try and, you know, weld it properly, but I was too lazy to have to even deal with all that. So the transmission just sat there. So I figured, why not take this one apart first, just to get some practice before we actually go head on and make a video taking the Gen 1 transmission apart. And the procedure is going to be exactly the same taking a Gen 1 transmission apart as it is to take a Gen 2 transmission apart. The only difference really is the gear ratios. I got some practice in, and it's definitely helped to make me feel more confident for this video. Just up front, some advice I can give you guys when you're taking these transmissions apart: take a ton of pictures from multiple angles as you disassemble it, because those pictures are gonna help a lot when you're reassembling the transmission. Secondly, as you're disassembling it, put everything in order. I like to go from left to right, from the order in which I took things apart, so that when I go to reassemble it, I can just go from right to left. Right? And then I can also reference my pictures just to make sure everything is fitting the way it needs to be fitting. And thirdly, there is gonna be a lot of oil that leaks out of this transmission. Even though we drained it fully, there was still a lot of residual oil. As I was flipping the transmission over on its side and stuff like that, it just kind of leaked out all over the floor. So I would recommend to have a lot of extra shop rags handy. And I would also recommend to get some of that kitty litter absorball type stuff, just so that if you have an excessive oil spill, you can kind of absorb it and clean it up without giving you too much of a headache. And fourthly, but not lastly, I would highly recommend that before starting disassembly on this thing, take a really good look at the outside casing and check for any abnormal accumulation of dirt or debris. We definitely don't want any dirt to get inside the transmission. We want to try to minimize that as much as possible. And I noticed that in the shifter area here, right in this crevice, there was a ton of accumulation of dirt there. So what I ended up doing was using a pick, small pick, just to kind of go around in all the little crevices and stuff like that to kind of loosen up the dirt. And then I used an air compressor with an air blower to kind of blow out all the dirt from all these little crevices on the outside casing. Now I'd recommend, if you're gonna use an air blower, be careful, because some of that dirt can blow back into your face and potentially get into your eyes. So definitely wear some safety glasses. And another thing too is on these casings here where the drive shafts go in, there's the openings for where the drive shafts go on both sides, right? So make sure no dirt gets in there, especially if you're using an air blower. I wouldn't use water in this area either, because you don't want to get sort of any water into where the release bearing is, into where any moving parts are. You want to kind of keep it waterless if you can. If you get the majority of all the dirt off, it'll reduce the chances of potential dirt getting inside the transmission. So here is the 3rd and 4th gear shift sleeve from the Gen 2 transmission that I took apart. We're looking at the side right now that shifts into 3rd gear. So the shift fork will actually go in here, push against the sleeve, and engage 3rd gear. When you go to 4th gear, it pulls it this way and then pulls it into 4th gear. So it's the same sleeve for 3rd and 4th gear. Now if we take a look at the teeth on the 3rd gear side, we can see that they're a little bit rounded off, but overall, they're in pretty good shape. I mean, it seems like some of the teeth are sitting a little bit further forward. See that? How the teeth seem to be sitting a little bit further forward, some of the teeth? I think those are the teeth that take the brunt of the wear. I guess you would call them sacrificial teeth. Overall, you can probably take a small file and just kind of deburr those teeth a little bit just to help make it go into gear a little bit smoother. If we take a look at the 4th gear side, same kind of deal. A little bit of wear, nothing too crazy. A small file will probably be able to deburr these. But like I said, according to the Mazda dealership, it's the same part number for the shift sleeve as it is in the Gen 1 transmission. So if this one here is indeed actually the same part, we'll take a look, we'll compare it with the one in there, but we'll see which one's in better condition, and we'll just use whichever one is in better condition if indeed they are the same. So we are ready to rock and roll here. Got a bunch of tools laid out on the ground. Probably not the best place to put them, but that's all good. We're doing it Wannabe Tuners style. Let's go ahead and start the disassembly. First thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna take this shifter assembly off First of all, I'm gonna remove this 14mm bolt here. It's kind of going inside the transmission and it makes it a little bit difficult to remove the shifter. So I'm gonna firstly remove this 14mm bolt here on the side. So I cracked it loose. Now I'm just gonna use my gun to take it out the rest of the way. Now the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take off these 12mm bolts here. One is holding this bracket. That's gonna allow us to take the shifter out. Now again, make sure it's all clean in here and the dirt is not gonna fall inside when you remove the shifter. I'm gonna crack them loose first with an extension and my fancy 3/8 snap-on ratchet. So you wanna crack them loose by hand first instead of just going right to an impact gun, because the last thing you wanna do is just snap the bolt off, right? So here's our bolts. 4 of them are long, 1 of them is short, and the short one goes right here. There is some RTV gasket maker holding this in place, so we're gonna probably have to pry it off carefully. So this piece slides right in here, you see that? Kind of goes like this, and it slides right in there. Don't forget this piece. Oh, there we go. This should come out now. Sometimes you gotta wiggle it a bit. There. Okay, so there's our shifter. And for now, we shall put this to the side in a clean location. All right, so that's what it looks like with it removed. You can really see how all the dirt that would have been in here would have fallen in there had we not cleaned it out. The next thing we're gonna do now is we're gonna remove this bracket, then we're also gonna remove the release bearing and the release bearing fork. $10mm bolts. No rush, just take your time, work in a clean fashion. These 4 bolts all look the same. There we go. Got the release bearing off. Look at that. I think it's because I put a bunch of grease in there when I did the clutch one time. I actually don't even remember. So now that we got the release bearing off, now I gotta pull this, but I gotta figure out how to release this spring clip thing. Careful with this boot, you wanna rip it. Basically what you do is, you actually push it in, get your fingers in there, and separate these tabs outwards. You can kind of see how there's a spring here, and it wraps around this ball and it clamps down on it. So you can't actually just separate them. You actually have to kind of push it in first, so it allows you to pull the spring outwards this way. Now I gotta wipe my hands down. Definitely not a bad idea to put some latex gloves on. So the next step is to remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all 12mm bolts. So we're gonna go ahead and get those cracked loose. Got a flashlight here so you can see a little bit easier. Working upside down here just so you guys can see. Here's the 6 bolts. They are all the same length. All right guys, so I laid down a bunch of shop rags onto the floor here because I know that when I flip this transmission input side facing down, there is a good chance that a lot of fluid is going to be leaking out of this hole here where the drive shaft goes. So I just wanted to take some precautions just to make sure the floor doesn't get too messed up. All right, so this thing is pretty heavy. I'm not sure how many pounds it weighs, but I have to kind of do it slowly. I just want to line it up with this section here and then I can kind of flip it nicely. Okay, nice and safe. And the rags kind of act like a cushion too because we are working on concrete, so it's good to go. So interestingly, I don't see any fluid leaking out of this drive shaft hole. It looks like it's pretty dry. My guess here, whoever sold me the Gen 2 transmission didn't fully drain it. All right, so the next step now is to remove this bolt here, which is holding in these wires, and then we've got to remove this bolt right here, which is holding the reverse gear in place. Now I'm gonna crack this one loose for the reverse gear, and that is a 17mm bolt. Holy smokes, that's tight. Oh my gosh, that is really tight. Okay, let's try it again. Oh geez. Okay, that was a little bit tighter than I thought it was gonna be. So with this reverse gear bolt that we just took out from this hole right here, there's one thing we have to remember to do. If we take a look from the Gen 2 transmission, this right here is the reverse gear, right? And this bolt actually threads in through the casing and threads into this hole right here, right? So when we're putting this thing back together and we put the case back on with our TV gasket, we have to make sure that this thing right here is facing the right direction. If it's facing too far off, we won't be able to get in to thread this bolt in. So it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but you have to get it somewhat close so you can kind of see where the hole is, because then you can get a screwdriver in there to kind of shift it into the correct spot so that you can thread this bolt in. If not, you're gonna have to take the casing back off and properly align it. Now what we have to do is we have to remove all of the bolts along the circumference of the casing. There's a total of 13, and they are all 12mm bolts. We've got one here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. All the bolts are the same. All right, so we've got all the transmission casing bolts removed all along the circumference here, and I've got everything laid out on this cardboard quite nicely. I'm trying to keep things as clean and organized as possible so that when we go to reassemble, like I said before, we're just gonna go in reverse order. And obviously we're gonna refer to our pictures. Now the next step is to remove this massive 27mm hex head bolt. I've heard of some people using some really big pliers to crack this loose. I tried that when disassembling the Gen 2 transmission, and honestly, I just couldn't do it. It just kept slipping. So what I ended up doing is going on Amazon, and I found this massive thing here. This is a 27mm hex head socket in a 1-inch drive. So then what I had to buy also is this adapter, which is a 1-inch to 3/4, or sorry, 3/4 to 1-inch, which then fits in here. And then I also have a 1/2-inch to 3/4 drive adapter, which then goes in here. And then that will allow me to crack this bolt loose with a 1/2-inch drive ratchet. So we're gonna hook up our adapters. And we are going to crack this bad boy loose. It might help to like jolt it a little bit. There we go. Should blow out some of the dirt that just, we don't want any bits of dirt going in there. Aha. And there we have it. So with this massive 27mm bolt removed, we now have access to these C-clips that we're gonna have to remove, and we're gonna be dislodging them. We're gonna be using this tool right here. This is a set of C-clip pliers. I don't know, are they called C-clips or C-clamps? I think they're C-clips, but these are the ones with the little pegs on the front, and these fit perfectly in those holes, and we can dislodge them very easily. But before we even do that, guys, taking a look here with a flashlight, inside the transmission here, where the shifter goes, we can see these segments here that are aligned, right? These are actually the shift forks. So if we take a long screwdriver, we can see that everything is lined up straight. All the shift forks are lined up straight. And what this means is that the transmission is in neutral. So this is exactly what we want. We want to make sure that the transmission is in neutral, because if the transmission is not in neutral, when we take the case off, there is a chance that these little balls and springs that sit behind the shift sleeves, there's a chance that they can just pop out and fly anywhere into the room or anywhere into the case. And if you lose them, or if you can't find them, that's gonna be a problem. So just make sure that we're in neutral so that we reduce the risk of losing these little balls and springs. Get them there like that. There we go. So now they're dislodged. This shaft actually kind of fell through, which is normal. So what we're gonna do now is get a pry bar and start slowly prying the casing off. On this side here. Oh, I heard something. I heard a noise. Let's do it. Slowly lift it up. Well, isn't that an interesting thing to see? Look at all those gears, you know? This is definitely something. I think people would pay to see this, you know? Very beautiful, very beautiful. There's 3 stacks in here. 3 stacks of really, really good looking gears. And this gets me going. I don't know what it is about it, but it just really tickles my fancy and I cannot explain it at all. Either way, guys, take a look at this magnet. There are a lot of metal shavings on this magnet and we are definitely going to be cleaning that off before we put it back together. The next step here, guys, now we're going to be obviously installing the brass shift fork pads. That little white piece there, that is a plastic shift fork pad, a stock plastic shift fork pad, and we're gonna be putting brass ones in there on all the shift forks. The other thing we're gonna be doing is changing 3rd gear. This is 3rd gear right here. And in order to do that, I'm gonna have to take the stack of gears out. And I think to take this stack out, I think I gotta take all of the stacks out. In order to take the stacks out, I have to remove the shift forks and then remove the shift fork rods. So the next step here is to remove the shift forks and the shift fork rods. And how we're gonna do that is we're gonna remove these little Allen key bolts here. There's one here, which holds this rod in place. There is another one here, which holds this rod in place. Sorry if I'm out of breath, I'm on my knees right now. And I gotta start exercising, jeez. All right, so there's also some Allen key bolts on this side. We got these 2 here. This one holds this rod in place, and this one holds this rod in place. So we're gonna start with that as the next step. We're gonna remove these Allen key bolts. Let's do it. So we're gonna start with these 2 Allen key bolts. It is a 6mm Allen key. Oh wow, those weren't even that tight. There's like thread sealant on these. I'm gonna use my magnet. This is just like a little cylinder with a spring inside. And the reason why there's a spring inside is because if we put a magnet in here again, there is a ball. Now if these don't want to come out with a magnet because they're kind of stuck in place because of that thread sealant, what you can do is get a small little pick and just kind of pull it through. Okay, so the next step, we're gonna take this tiny little splash shield off right here. And to do that, just gonna take these 2 10mm bolts off. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this 10mm bolt off, as well as this 10mm bolt off, and that should allow us to remove this fork, and the 2 rods. Just crack them loose by hand first, gently. Ooh, it kind of, ooh. Okay, so one thing to be very careful of, don't push the rods down too far, because if this shift sleeve here goes too far down, those balls and springs that I was telling you about can actually pop out from behind the sleeves and go everywhere. So make sure you keep this held in neutral here. So I'm not actually gonna push down on the rod because that's not what I wanna do. I'm just gonna hold up right here like this, go like this. Gotta be careful. Because if those balls fall out, we are in big trouble. This is the shift fork for reverse gear. Now this shift fork right here is for 5th and 6th. Those are the plastic shift fork pads from factory. So let's take a look at this side of the transmission now. And what we can see here is we've got the shift fork for 3rd and 4th gear. We've got the shift fork for 1st and 2nd gear. And then we've got 3 of these rods. We've also got, actually on this side here, this is part of reverse, right? So this is our little thing that I was talking to you about earlier, where this hole has to be lined up correctly before we put the casing on, otherwise that bolt won't be able to thread in. We'll get back to that later when we're ready to put it back together. But in order to remove the shift forks here and the rods, what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to remove this 10mm bolt right here. We're gonna have to remove these pins. There's 3 of them. There's one here, there's one here, and there's one down here. And to get those out, we're gonna have to use a punch and a hammer. And this is the punch that I'm gonna use. It's roughly the same size. So that should do the trick. And there's one more thing on this side here. There's that C-clip right there. That's gotta be removed, and then we can push this pin out, which will allow us to remove this whole lever. Might have to just stabilize these, because as soon as you go to turn it, this thing comes loose. Just stabilize it. You could probably use an impact gun, but I wanna just crack it loose by hand first so I don't break anything. Oh Jesus, see? These shift sleeves. You know what? Just be very careful. You wanna keep the shift sleeves in neutral. We don't want those balls to pop out. Balls and springs. Okay, it's cracked loose. Let's go ahead and zip it off with the bit driver. Oh my God. Last thing I want to do is break one of these bolts. Okay, so let's take these pins out here. One here, and one here. Now I'm thinking this might be the best size. I don't know if it's gonna be too big to actually go all the way through. So I'll start with this one. I'm gonna take my hammer. I wanna be careful not to break these. See how it's going in a little? Okay, it fell in there. Gotta find that pin. There it is. Let me get my magnet. And that's what these pins look like. This punch works better. It's a smaller size, fits right through. I'm gonna do the same thing for this one and this one here. Now we're gonna move on to this one. Keep it flat and straight. Now I just realized something. By hitting this pin out, it's gonna contact this rod. So I'm gonna actually pull this rod out first. Get it out of the way. Now that's gonna give me some room here. Can't really fully pull the fork out just yet, but it gives me room. The rod's not in the way. I can finish punching this pin out. All right, so we've got all the pins removed now. And as you can see here, one of them is long and 2 of them are short. The long one goes right here. A short one goes right here. And another short one goes right here. And this hole here is for the 10mm bolt. The next step now is we gotta get this C-clip off so we can get this pin out. I think what I might have to do is just kind of get it in position here, just like this, and just kind of, oh, there it is. Okay, where'd it go? I heard it fly off into the guts. There it is. So now we've got the C-clip out. We can't get the push pin out until we pull this rod out. So let's pull the rod out. Just carefully pull this out. Now the shift fork comes out. I'm gonna put this off to the side. We can take this piece out right here. Remember, take lots of pictures so you remember how it all goes. To get this rod out, we gotta take the pin out right down here. This pops out. This is where that C-clip held in place. Now we got this rod out. You can see this moves around. So just keep this kind of as it is. This is this little lever thing that the pin went through here. The C-clip on the back was holding it in place. And now the final shift fork, just kind of gently pull it out, and there it is. Got everything laid out in order. We got to get these stacks off, these stacks of gears. So we got to remove that 12mm bolt down there and this 12mm bolt right here. You can use an open-ended wrench or a closed-ended wrench. Carefully loosen it. Do the same thing on this one. Just take it off by hand. This one's in a little bit of a tighter spot. Now there's these washers right here. Got to keep those as well. So now to take these stacks out, these sleeves, we got to make sure they stay in neutral, because right now the sleeves are free. They're not held in place by the forks. So once we get the stack out, it's very possible for us to just pull the sleeve right off. And then the little balls and springs, there's 3 of them. So you got a ball and a spring, you got a ball and a spring, you got a ball and a spring. So you got to make sure that these stay in neutral as much as possible, because if you pull them right off, those balls and springs will pop out. I know I've said it a million times, but I can't reiterate it, because on that first Gen 2 transmission, it's exactly what happened. They popped out, and I had a hard time to find them. So right now, I think I'm gonna start with this stack right here. This is the 5th and 6th gear stack, and then the reverse gear down here. Okay, there's one. I'm gonna put this off to the side. Next stack, what are we gonna do? You know what, let's do the reverse. Just get this one out. Okay, we got a bearing here, a needle bearing. Just keep it slid in there. I think these kind of have to come up a little bit together. So what I'll do is kind of grab my hands on these 2 gears here. So now we'll just kind of move over here and just put them down on the cardboard, and then we can separate them. Ow, oh God. So we've got all of the stuff removed from thine transmission, as you can see here. Everything is in order. We're gonna go from right to left when we put it back together. And we don't even have to take this final drive gear out, because all we're really doing here is changing 3rd gear. These are the teeth for 3rd gear. We're changing the synchro ring set, which is in behind the sleeve here. And we're gonna see how worn out this sleeve is. The teeth, I mean, for 3rd gear, you can see right in the middle, they're a little bit worn out. I've grinded the gear many times. So I was taking a look at this in depth, and I was trying to understand how power gets delivered. And what I found was quite interesting. First of all, this is the input shaft. So power is coming in from the engine through this shaft, and all of these gears are fixed to this shaft. So this shaft here is gonna be driving the whole thing, right? It's the input. Now, the output, there's 2 outputs on this transmission. There's either this output or this output. These gears here, this gear right here and this gear right here, they're locked to the center shafts, right? So this is locked to the entire shaft, and this is locked to this shaft. And both of these, this one and this one, are constantly in mesh with that massive ring gear. So power's coming in through here, and power is either gonna be coming out through this gear to the big gear, or coming out through this gear to that big gear. And it all depends on which of these gears in these stacks are locked to the shaft. And how these gears get locked to the shaft is through these shift sleeves, okay? Because right now, this is 4th gear, and you can see it's free spinning, completely free spinning. If I shift into 4th gear, the shift sleeve, the shift fork is gonna push against the shift sleeve, and it's gonna lock it into 4th gear. You can see these splines here. This is the hub, the shift hub, I guess you could call it that. And this hub is splined to the shaft. It's locked to the shaft. So if I lock 4th gear through the hub, through the shift sleeve to the hub, locked to the shaft, this gear is not going to be driving the big ring gear at this ratio. So what happens is power is going to come in through here, and one of these fixed gears is going to be driving 4th, which is this one. So you can see I hold it up. It's in mesh with 4th. And so power's coming in through the shaft. This gear is now driving 4th gear, and now 4th gear is locked to the shaft. So this shaft is gonna be used via this locked gear to drive that big ring gear, right? As soon as I shift out of fourth, this now spins freely, but either way, this is in mesh constantly. So this is a constant mesh transmission. So all the gears are constantly in mesh free spinning, and it's only when you lock a specific gear to the shaft that either this shaft is going to spin the big ring gear or this shaft is going to spin the big ring gear. Fifth gear, sixth gear, look, fifth gear spinning freely. But the interesting thing is, this input shaft doesn't just drive fourth gear. This doesn't just drive fourth gear. It's constantly in mesh. This gear is also driving fifth gear, right? But look at this. This is driving sixth, but when I put it meshed up to this one, it's not driving anything on this shaft. So it's just interesting how it all works, right? They're constantly in mesh, and it's only when you lock a specific gear to a specific shaft via the shift sleeves that ratio will be used at any given moment. And you've got two output shafts pretty much, right? Depending which gear you use, on which shaft you use, either this gear is gonna be driving the big ring gear or this gear is gonna be driving the big ring gear with a specific gear ratio. So hopefully that makes sense. So taking a closer look at these gears here, I'm thinking I probably should have ordered a new second gear as well, because we can see here that the teeth on second gear look a little bit beaten up. But unfortunately, I did not order a new second gear. So the weird thing is I didn't really have that many grinding issues per se with second. I mean, it was more so third, so I'm kind of surprised that second gear looks worse than third gear to some degree. Anyways, we've only got a third gear here, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this bearing off, and it's kind of pressed onto the shaft. Third gear is gonna slide out, the synchro is gonna come out, the sleeve's gonna come out. To get this bearing off, there's this C-clip right here. And I'm gonna show you guys how to take that off right now. These are the pliers that I bought to remove the C-clip. I got these off Amazon for pretty cheap. They're like a flat-faced plier. I tried on the Gen 2 using a peg type of C-clip plier. Those don't work very well. They just keep slipping. So I had to go online and pick these up, and these actually work a lot better. So you wanna get the flat-faced ones, preferably the ones with some grip on them. So let's go ahead, take the C-clip off. So I'm gonna go like this. It's a good idea to put some safety glasses on because you don't want this to slip and go into your eye. Keep your hand on it. Kind of work it. It should come off pretty easily. There it is. So now to take this bearing off, we have to use a puller. And this is the puller that I'm gonna use. It's like a claw type puller. Make sure the hooks of this claw puller are nice and evenly wrapped around the bearing. And just start threading away. Keep it straight. Start to feel some tension. Now, I'm gonna twist it. It's a 13mm bolt up top here. What was that? What the hell was that? Anyways, let's keep going, I guess. Yeah, it's coming. Gotta be real careful with this. Gotta go slow, gotta make sure everything is sitting flat and stable. And there is the bearing. I'm gonna wanna keep it in the same orientation when I put it on. So I'm just gonna put this on the ground with this side facing up, just so I know. Now, third gear can just slide right off. Just like that. There's this little plastic spacer here. I'm gonna lay it down in order. And then this is the needle bearing for third gear. So we'll keep this clean and safe. Here's the synchronizer ring set. It's multiple pieces. I mean, it doesn't even look that bad, to be honest. But obviously we want to keep these in order. And the shift sleeve. But I put a rag over it like this. So if these spring out on this side, the rag will catch them. Okay, I think we're good. There it is, the ball and the spring for this little edge. Put it over here. I think there's one more. See what I'm saying? It gets a little bit complicated. Oh, it flew out, okay. Yeah, that was a bit of a tricky one. Where's the spring for this side? Or where's the ball for this side, rather? There it is. See? Hiding underneath. So what we have here is the 3rd and 4th gear shift sleeve from the Gen 1 transmission. And here is the same shift sleeve from the Gen 2 transmission. Now, I've looked at both of these pretty closely, and the wear on the teeth is very similar. So I've decided that I'm just gonna continue to use the shift sleeve from the Gen 1 transmission. Now what I'm gonna do to deburr these teeth, did a little bit of research, and people online have recommended using really small files, but I don't have any of those right now. And so I figured I would just get myself some ivory cloth sandpaper. It's not super coarse, but it's not super fine. Fold a little piece in half, just kind of deburr some of the teeth, like so. Get in between the teeth. Just kind of work my way around and do the same thing for the 4th gear side. The face of it. Just kind of smooth it out as much as possible. And then obviously I'm gonna get some brake cleaner, spray the whole thing down, use high pressure air to clean the part as much as possible because we don't want any fragments from the sandpaper still stuck in the teeth. And then the other thing that I was also thinking of doing was cleaning the splines on the hub that the sleeve rides on. But I was worried about that because I don't really know if I have the tools to actually pull this off and put it back on, because you can actually get this hub off, remove it completely from the shaft and have it separately, and then kind of deburr it from there to prevent any sort of contaminants or dust or, you know, sandpaper shavings from getting into where the synchro is. So I'm thinking what I might do is just kind of wipe it off for now and then focus more on getting the sleeve as clean as possible. Because the idea here is to get the sleeve to ride up and down the hub as smoothly as possible so that our shifting is improved. Alrighty guys, so it has been at least 3 weeks and I had to do some other stuff around the garage. So I went ahead and just covered all the components up with plastic just to keep the dirt and dust off of them. And I did the same for the Gen 2 components because although that was a sacrificial transmission, still has the blood and soul of a Mazdaspeed. So I had to take care of it, give it some love, so on and so forth, because you never know, we could probably reuse that or salvage it in some way. I had to order some stuff from Amazon in order for us to proceed with this transmission rebuild, and I'm gonna show you what I needed to order in order for us to install the brass shift fork pads, and then I'm gonna go into a little more detail as we go here. So in the time that I was waiting for those parts to come in the mail, I cleaned up a little bit in the garage. I got some of these plastic containers for some engine components. As you can see, I got my crankshaft in there. But I also went ahead and reinforced my rear door here. There used to be a small square window up top with like a single pane of glass. And then in this area, there was like an open gap where you could just stick your hand in, unlock the door and open it. So I figured, you know what? Let's reinforce this door, make it safe. Can't really do much more with the build because we're waiting for some parts on order. So what I did was screwed in a plank of wood on the back side here, covering up all the weak points. I installed a deadbolt up top and a deadbolt down low. And then on the front side of the door, I've got a second plank of wood. And just to make it all pretty, I painted it. Now the garage is a lot more secure and Snowball is feeling a lot safer. So after completing this whole reinforcement of the door, I had some extra plank of wood. So what I did was I went ahead and extended my workbench area. You can see that it's coming off the side now, so we have a lot more room to work with. And that allowed me to install this vise right here, which is gonna come in handy for pretty much anything. More importantly, it's gonna come in handy for us to install the brass shift fork pads into these shift forks. Here on the right side, I've got the shift forks from the Gen 2 transmission, and on the left side, I've got the shift forks from the Gen 1 transmission. And the reason why I have them laid out like this is because I want to show you the difference. Because what happens is, when you order these brass shift fork pads right here, there's gonna be a difference between the shift fork pads for 5th and 6th gear between the Gen 1 and Gen 2. If you take a close look here, let me just zoom in. This is the shift fork pad, sorry, this is the shift fork for 5th and 6th gear for the Gen 1, and this is the shift fork for 5th and 6th gear for the Gen 2. So you can see here that the pad on the Gen 2 is larger, and the pad on the Gen 1 is smaller, okay? But the problem here is the mounting holes are also different. So this is in a different spot. Whereas if we look at the Gen 2 3rd and 4th gear shift fork and the 3rd and 4th gear shift fork for the Gen 1, the pads look the same and the mounting holes are the same. But take a look at this. This is the shift fork for the Gen 2 for the 1st and 2nd gear. And you can actually see a physical difference. You can see it shaved down a little bit here on the Gen 2 to make it a little more lighter. Now the shift pads, the shift fork pads themselves, the plastic ones, actually look smaller on the Gen 1 than they do on the Gen 2. The one on the Gen 2 look actually a lot larger. But here's the thing, the mounting holes are the same. The positions of the mounting holes are the same. So the only real difference here for brass shift fork pads is between the shift forks between Gen 1 and Gen 2 for 5th and 6th gear. All the other gears are gonna be okay. They're gonna be the same. The mounting points are gonna be the same, even though they're a little bit bigger for 1st and 2nd gear on the Gen 2s. Speed Solutions sent me all the options, just in case, because he's gonna ask you if you already have the transmission taken apart, and if you do, he's gonna ask you to send pictures of the shift forks for 5th and 6th gear, because sometimes I think what he was saying was there's a little bit of overlap between Gen 1 and Gen 2, or maybe what he was saying was that in some of the earlier Gen 2s, it could be similar to the Gen 1s for 5th and 6th gear. So just be aware of that, but he's also gonna send you some instructions on how to install these. And in those instructions, it outlines that you need to obtain this stuff right here. This is Permatex sleeve retainer, and this is an added step of security to ensure that the brass shift fork pads don't fall out of the forks themselves. Now, the brass shift fork pads are intended to be a press fit into the forks themselves, but as an added layer of security, it's recommended to use this. And this is what was recommended in the instructions. It's Permatex sleeve retainer. It secures studs, pins, slip, and press fit assemblies. So this is exactly what I'm gonna use. And this was expensive. This was like 40 bucks Canadian just for this tiny little 6 milliliter tube. So I hope this works. The other thing I ordered on Amazon was some thread sealant, because some of the bolts that go into the transmission are going to be exposed to transmission fluid. So I just want to make sure that we don't have any leaks. I'm just going to apply this to some of the threads, just a light amount, just to make sure we don't have any leaks. And then to finalize the whole thing, when we assemble the two casing halves together, I've got some gasket maker here. It says it's for differentials and transfer cases, resists harsh gear oils and friction modifiers. Use as gasket maker or sealant. So this should do the trick. If it doesn't, then we'll have to reseal it down the line, but I think it should be fine. Also, I've got my 2 gears here. I got my 3rd gear from the transmission, and I've got my brand new 3rd gear. And as you can see here, this is the brand new one. There's like no wear on the cone whatsoever. The teeth are in perfect condition. Take a look at the cone here. Some wear on it, and the teeth are a little bit worn out. I did sand these teeth down, thinking that I might consider reusing this, because I know that these teeth are already meshed in properly to the input shaft gear, and I was worried that if I put a brand new gear in, it might make some noise. But seeing as how there's some wear on this cone here, and a little bit of wear on the teeth, I asked people, and they said, you know what, you should be fine to just do the 3rd gear, replace the 1 gear. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Previously, I showed you how worn out the teeth were for second gear. Unfortunately, that is a discontinued item. I called the dealership. They no longer have it available. That's the exact same thing with this shift sleeve here. This is a discontinued item, so I have to reuse this. I cleaned up the teeth a little bit with some sandpaper, so we should be good to go there. Luckily, we have a brand new synchronizer ring set for third gear. This is the old one here. It's a 3-piece design. And the only wear that I can actually see is just on the center ring section here. You can see that there's some grooving there, as well as on the inside. But I don't know if that really would have a huge effect, but all I know is that I was having an intermittent grinding issue with third gear. Not sure if that's because I wasn't pushing the clutch all the way in subconsciously, or if maybe this had a part to play in that. But either way, we've got a new synchronizer ring set assembly, so we should be good to go there. So the next step now, guys, is to start taking the pads off of these forks. So we're gonna take a small screwdriver like this one right here, and I'm just gonna work at removing these pads. So I actually had to purchase this aluminum block right here, and I got this aluminum block from Amazon for just over 25 bucks. And the reason why I needed to buy this was because, as per the instructions sent by Speed Solutions, we need to have 2 pieces of aluminum on each side of the vise. So when we go to squeeze these brass shift fork pads into the fork, we want to make sure that they don't get damaged. So in order to do that, we have to have an interface between the vise and the brass pads themselves. And so that's what the aluminum is for. We're going to have 1 block of aluminum on this side and 1 block of aluminum on this side. So when we go to squeeze the pads into the forks, we're not going to damage the pads. Let's do it. Okay. There we go. That's broken. Okay. I don't know where that went. Okay, that one came out very easily. Not too sure where that one went. I don't really see how these could break, to be honest. They're pretty strong. You really gotta be shifting hard. Once you get one side out, the other side comes out no problem. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna clean these out, spray some brake clean in there, make sure it's completely clean. I'm gonna use some high pressure air. Otherwise the sleeve retainer might not work properly. Clean these holes out. So all of the shift fork holes have been cleaned out. We can see here that the spacing between the holes, between all the shift forks, looks to be pretty much the exact same. I've got the brass shift fork pads here laid out, and these bigger ones here are for a Gen 2 5th and 6th gear shift fork, which in our case, we're not gonna need to use these ones. So we're only gonna be using these ones. And taking a look at these ones, they look to all be the exact same size, and the spacing between the pegs looks to be exactly the same. So what we can do now is we can test fit them, and if we find that some of them are fitting a little bit loosely, in order to make them fit more tightly, what we can do is we can use a small center punch that has a pointed tip, and just very lightly on a very flat surface, use a hammer and just punch the center of the peg slightly to create an indentation. Now that indentation is going to cause the peg to expand slightly, and that is going to allow a tighter fit in these holes. If we take a look at the hole here on the left, we can see that it is smaller than the hole on the right. You're going to have 6 shift fork pads that have a larger peg on the top and a smaller peg on the bottom, and then the other 6 are going to have a smaller peg on the top and a larger peg on the bottom. Now I noticed that the 3 on the right here, the pegs look like they're a different shape. Also the machine work looks a little bit different. So I'm guessing that these 3 were from a different batch, but in terms of fitment, they seem to be fitting tightly. So I think we're good to go. So I've got this block of aluminum, and I'm gonna make a cut right now. Just gonna make a nice straight cut right off there. Just lob a nice piece off. It's aluminum, so it shouldn't be too difficult to cut. You know what, I just realized the whole camera's probably shaking like crazy right now. It's not really a completely straight cut, but that's okay. Okay, now I gotta cut this in half. Okay, so that was a really poor cut, but I think it'll work. You can see here that it's actually a little bit smaller than the pad, but I think we've got enough bite on it just to get the pads to crush in. So I think we're good. Let's give it a shot. We're ready to press in our first pair of brass shift fork pads. We're gonna start with the 5th and 6th gear shift fork. Here's our 2 aluminum blocks. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press in one pad first, like so. And then once it's fully pressed in, I'll apply some of this Permatex sleeve retainer compound into the holes here. And then I'll press in the other pad from the other side. Brass pads are pretty darn expensive. So the last thing I wanna do is destroy them, but it looks like it's pressing in, no problem. Okay. All right, let me get this out. Let me get this out. So I've pressed this in. Looks pretty flush. And now I'm gonna apply some of the sleeve retainer into here, and then we'll press in the other pad right here. I gotta cut this. Oh my gosh, this thing squirted out, man. Okay, so I'm gonna apply a small dab into each of these holes. How much is even in here? There's like nothing in here, man. Okay, this is exciting. Okay, now we're gonna press in the other side. Get my aluminum block on this side here. Then I'll get my aluminum block on this side. Gotta open this up a bit. Let me show you guys what we're dealing with here. Okay, so that's in. Now the question is, do I leave this here? Because I mean, it's already in. It's not gonna go anywhere. I'm gonna wipe off the excess sleeve retainer stuff. Now I'm gonna do this side. From what I've noticed here, the smaller peg seems a little bit less frictiony. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a center punch, and I'm going to punch the center of this peg just a little bit, just to try to spread it open a little bit. All right, so I got my center punch right here. It's got a pointed tip on it, and on this smaller peg that was sitting a little bit further in, I'm just gonna use this flat section on the vise here to just kind of create a little dimple in the center here, just to see if I can spread it out just a touch. Let's see if that looks a little better. Hopefully I didn't screw it up. Yeah, you know what? That looks a little better. It looks more even between the left and the right. It's a bit of a tedious process. Take your time and enjoy. Okay, so it's the next day, guys. I stayed up till about 2 a.m. last night to get this done. It's been about 12 hours, so we're ready to move on to the next step. I double checked that the pads are still properly installed. They haven't popped out or anything like that. So I think we're good to go there. 12 hours, I don't know if that's exactly enough time for the sleeve retaining compound to fully cure. I checked the Speed Solutions instructions, and it doesn't mention anything about sort of, curing times for the sleeve retaining compound. All it says is to basically clamp the pads into the forks, wipe off the excess sleeve retaining compound, and then reassemble the transmission. So if you want to be extra safe, my recommendation would be to clamp the pads in, wipe off the excess sleeve retaining compound, make sure that the pads are properly installed and sitting flush, allow the forks to sit for at least 24 hours, and then double check after 24 hours that the pads are still in the proper position and haven't popped out. That way you know for sure that you've given the sleeve retaining compound enough time to cure, and you should be good to go. Let's go ahead, guys, and continue with reassembling the transmission. All right, guys, so I've got the stack of gears here for third gear. I've got my brand new third gear right here. I got my brand new synchronizer ring set for third gear. I got my cleaned up third and fourth gear shift sleeve. I've got all the little balls and detent springs. I've got the needle bearing that sits behind third gear. And then I got the spacer, which is made of plastic. And then I've got the top bearing. And then I've got the C-clip that holds the top bearing in place. So what I'm gonna do now, I've already gone ahead and sanded this down, sanded the teeth down, smoothed them out, cleaned it off. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see how smooth it rides on the hub right here. So these splines are gonna mate up with these teeth here. So let's make sure we line it up properly. So that's fourth gear. We've engaged fourth gear. And now how smooth does it ride when I go up to third? That rides pretty smooth. I'm just gonna give a little bit of a wipe to these splines here. I'm gonna use a microfiber, a small screwdriver. I'm just gonna fold it once. I'm just gonna get my screwdriver through the center, and I'm just gonna go on upstrokes to clean the teeth, or the splines rather. I'm gonna clean the splines out of any potential debris. Because you want the shift sleeve to ride up and down the hub very smoothly, so that when you go to shift, you don't have any binding. Even a small piece of dirt would create restriction to movement there. So I'm just kind of going across here, trying to clean out any little bit of dirt that I see, just kind of wipe it off. I mean, this is what we got to do. We're working out of a garage here, so we don't have state-of-the-art facilities, so we have to work with what we got. Just double check, make sure there's no sand or dirt in all these little areas. This is clean. We don't want to cause any problems here with foreign material causing damage and stuff. Just double check it. Okay. Get a clean microfiber if you see anything. Kind of get it off. To be honest, you need to have a really clean work environment to do this. Okay, so next step. We don't want to screw this up because if you think about it, parts are not available for these things anymore, so we got to be sure that everything is smooth. I know this is a bit OCD, but the last thing I want is a gear to get chipped, a tooth to get chipped or something. So it's better to just go the extra mile, check things over, clean the teeth out one by one. That's fourth gear. That's a power gear right there. We got to make sure that's nice and clean. You have to make sure that when you put the sleeve on, you line up this indentation with one of these gaps, one of these three gaps. It can only go in one of three ways. Depending on which position you have it in, it feels different. Sometimes it feels smoother, sometimes it feels rougher. So I think I'm gonna pick the one that feels the smoothest, which I think is this one. And that's probably because the teeth on the sleeve kind of wore into the splines on the hub. The indentation is for the springs and balls that sit in between these gaps here on the hub. The spring is gonna go on the inside. These little retainer things are gonna go like this with the protruding part facing outwards. Okay, and we'll put one on this side, put one on this side. Now, remember that we put it like this. Let's get these springs in. I don't wanna have any shifting issues here because something's dirty and causing it to not move. So now, slide this over. Okay, so now it's just kind of touching the springs. Grab a ball, and I gotta slide these balls in very carefully here. Okay, there's one. Spin this a little bit. Gotta be very careful because I don't want this to pop out and then lose that one ball. Lift this side up a little bit. Got another ball in. I gotta put my hand on these two now, just to make sure in case the ball pops out, my hand will catch it. Okay, got them in. Oh, you heard that? Okay, perfect. So, we are in. Okay, now I gotta put the synchro in. So the synchro is a three-piece design. I wanna make sure that we don't get any dirt in between these rings, because that could have a big effect on the shift quality. Take these, just kind of put them over here, keep them clean. I'm gonna start with this ring. Now this ring here, these little protrusions, these little 3 segments, there's little 3 segments on the shift, on the actual hub itself. So I'm gonna line these indentations up right there. Now, I take the center section here. So these little tabs here are gonna sync up with these little gaps in the 3rd gear. Now this center section of the synchronizer, sitting nice and flat. Now we're clean here. I'm gonna take our little needle bearing, make sure we're all cleaned up. Just took a little bit of transmission fluid from the casing. Just gonna apply some here. Just a small amount for now. I think we're just gonna put this on. Like that. And then, I think we put our 3rd gear in. So we got our brand new 3rd gear. Make sure it's nice and clean in there. So this is gonna sit like so. And these little protrusions from the center ring are gonna line up with the gear right there. Perfect. That center ring in the synchronizer assembly grabs those little gaps on the gear and it free spins with the gear. I'm gonna grab the spacer. I'm just gonna apply the spacer in between here. And now essentially we're gonna take this bearing and we're gonna hammer this bearing back on or press it on, but I need to make sure that this surface is clean, and I might get some transmission fluid in there to make it go in a little bit easier. So let me apply a little bit of transmission fluid to this surface here, as well as this inner surface here. And then once we press it on, we will put our C-clip back on. Now I don't have a press here, so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go back over to the floor over there, and I'm gonna use a socket that I have and a mallet, and I'm just gonna lightly tap it back into place. And it should bottom out right against the gear or right against the race here of the shaft. So let me go ahead and I'll meet you guys in front of the car. Okay guys, so one thing I did forget to mention that I went ahead and did off camera, I applied some transmission fluid in between here, in where the needle bearings are, and in between all of the synchro rings. There's 3 rings. I applied transmission fluid in between there, where the needle bearings are. Pretty much as much transmission fluid as I can put, just to make sure that we are nice and lubed up. Okay, so I tested it. Goes into 4th gear, goes into 3rd gear. So we're good, we're good. The balls and springs haven't fallen out. So the next thing we gotta do is I'm gonna apply a little bit of transmission fluid on this shaft here, and then I'm gonna apply some transmission fluid on the inner race of this bearing, just to make it easier for us to hammer it in place. So I'm gonna get transmission fluid from the transmission casing, apply some lube to the shaft, and I'm also gonna apply some lube to the inner race of this bearing. And that should make things a little bit easier to put in. So remember, the groove is gonna be further to the top, and we're gonna put it on this way. So what I did last time on that Gen 2 transmission was I lined it up just like this, get it partially started. Make sure you're on a piece of cardboard. You don't wanna damage the bottom side of the shaft. This is a 36mm socket, and I'm just putting a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch adapter in there, and I'm literally just lining up with the inner race, and I'm just tapping it in place until it bottoms out. Just tap it in. Just gotta make sure that the socket doesn't slide off the race and like damage this bearing portion. Let me see if I can get a little bit of an extension here to make it easier. Pop it in here. The floor isn't very stable, so. Nice and even. It's going. Got a little bit of way to go. This floor, I gotta figure out, is it better on this side here? Yeah, it's more stable here. Okay, let me move the camera. Yeah, it's slowly getting there. Takes a bit of time, but you just gotta work it on there slowly. I think it's bottomed out. third gear, fourth gear. It's gonna feel better with fluid in it, that's for sure. Okay, yeah, we're good. I hope this works. I really hope this works. I don't want to screw this up. C-clip time. All right, for the C-clip, there's this groove on one side of the C-clip, which was created from the inner race on the bearing. So I'm gonna face this side down. So I'm gonna grab my C-clip pliers. I got some safety glasses on just in case. Put my hand here so it doesn't fly anywhere. Oh. Okay. Hang on, it's not fully on. There we go. Now we are fully in. Okay, so I've got the lower casing laid out on the ground. What I'm gonna do is I've removed the ring gear, just put it to the side, and I'm just kind of working at cleaning everything up a little bit. Gonna clean off the mating surfaces here so there's no more gasket maker. So when I put the other casing on top, it's a nice clean surface. I'm cleaning up some of these bearing races in here, kind of like cleaning them off, re-lubing them. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a razor blade and I'm just gonna kind of lightly work at cleaning off some of this gasket maker. I'm gonna do it carefully so I don't get any debris inside the transmission. Just kind of pulling towards the outside of the transmission so I don't get too much of the old gasket maker inside the casing. Being careful here not to flick any sand anywhere too much. This is your only transmission, so you definitely want to make sure you take your time and do a good job. Because realistically, we can't really get parts for these things anymore, so. I mean, some parts are still available, but a lot of them aren't. Not only do we want it to be free of gasket maker, we also want it to be completely clean of any transmission fluid because that might hinder the sealing capability of the new gasket maker. So like transmission fluid like this, we want to make sure we fully wipe that off, and we're going to use brake clean on a rag, and we're literally going to just wipe off the mating surface to make sure it's dry and clean. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this ring gear back in, make sure the outer race for the bearing is nice and clean and lubed up. I'm going to grab it from here, make sure the bottom's clean, slowly drop it in. Okay, there it is. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna put the gear stacks into the transmission. And one thing I did notice when I was taking things apart is that the input shaft and the first, second, third gear stack, you have to put them in kind of simultaneously, because if you take one and just put it in, you won't be able to get the other one in because there's too much of an angle. So what I'm gonna do is, because there's this input shaft oil seal here, you wanna be super careful that you don't puncture that. So as we're putting this in, what we're gonna do is make sure that everything's clean, lubed up. We're gonna put some transmission fluid here. This is where it rides on this bearing. We're gonna put some transmission fluid right here, which rides on this bearing, and then transmission fluid here, which mates up to the oil seal, this rubber oil seal that's in here. So make sure it's clean, and then grab some transmission fluid, put some of this on here, get a little more, put it here, and then what we gotta do is, I gotta put some on here as well. Just make sure there's no sand on these surfaces, super clean. Take your time, be in control. Be in control, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big moment because we're making progress here, and progress is addictive. I think it goes a little something like that. Ow! Something like this. See this? Kind of meshed in. I'm gonna line up the input shaft here. Careful as we go down so we don't damage the inputs, the seal. Line it up straight. Kind of get in there, hold it steady, and there, we're in. Okay, good to go. Everything's meshed in, and just like that, you guys are on that side. What do you think? Do you think the transmission's gonna grenade when we put it back together? It'll be interesting to see now, won't it? Because you got a brand new third gear with a used third input shaft gear. I wonder if that's gonna make noise. This bearing's clean. Let's pop it in. Okay, check the gears one more time. Gotta be careful when you're holding this one because 6th gear, it's possible that you can put it into 6th gear and the sleeve will overshoot, and then those little balls and springs will fly out because there's nothing really stopping it. So let me carefully grab it from this here. Very carefully just kind of slide it in. See if I put it in reverse, give it a little more clearance. Okay. Is that in? Is that in? Okay. Yes it is. Oh, it is. Wow. That's so cool. Okay, so we're clean. Let me get it out of reverse. Check for debris on the regular, guys. Keep your eyes open for debris. And if we have to do any final touch-ups on the mating surface here for the gasket maker, we can, because we have complete access to it. Okay, so we're actually gonna put the reverse gear in first before we put the 5th and 6th gear stack in, because this wasn't fitting. So let's make sure we're lubed up. Pop this one in. Okay, we are in. Remember that notch lines up. Now, 5th and 6th gear stack, slowly. It's definitely not sitting straight. Oh, is that in? All right, looks like it's in. Everything looks pretty good. Everything's spinning freely. Make sure this notch is lined up with that washer. Make sure the bearings are properly seated, everything's properly in, meshed together properly. Now we can start putting the rest of this stuff together. All right, so I can't stress this enough, guys, to save you guys headaches, especially with the 5th and 6th gear shift sleeve. If I shift in the 5th, there's a very easy chance that it can kind of go further down potentially and have these balls and springs pop out. But it's even more of a higher chance if you go into 6th gear, because this sleeve can continue to go up and up and up. There's nothing to stop it. So try to keep it in neutral here, and those balls and springs will stay in place. Okay, so now let's put the shift forks in. I've already gone ahead and cleaned them off, and I cleaned the rods as well. So what we're gonna do is grab our reverse fork, kind of slide it in this way, shift it over this way, grab our 5th and 6th gear, double check our pads, good to go. Hopefully they don't pop out. Just kind of slide it in here. Okay, we're gonna get our rod for reverse gear fork. Make sure it's clean. Just gonna slide this in here. Make sure it goes into this hole carefully. Okay. Now, I clean this rod as well, 5th and 6th gear. Slide this in. Line it up. Okay. So we're on the other side of the transmission now, and this side is a little bit of a puzzle, so I figured I'd give you a nice close-up view and show you the order in which I install things. I find that doing it this way, everything goes smoothly. Let's start off. We're gonna put in, loosely, the 1st and 2nd gear shift fork. I'm gonna slide it into the shift sleeve here. Kind of leave it loose, kind of turn it, line it up with this hole. Next thing we're gonna do is grab our 3rd and 4th gear shift fork, slide it into the shift sleeve here, kind of line it up lightly with this hole. Then we're gonna get this rod, and we have this piece here that can slide off because there's a pin that goes here. So just make sure that if you pull this off, you don't accidentally flip it this way, because then it won't line up. So make sure you have it this way. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this little lever here, and we're going to slide it right here. Looks like it's the same on both sides. This side and this side are the same, so it doesn't really matter which way we put it. So I'll just slide it in this way. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold it with our finger so it doesn't fall out. We're gonna just kind of line it up with this slot right here, slide it in, and we're gonna grab the rod side and slide it into this hole. So something like that, okay? Now it's just gonna kind of sit there for now. Then what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a little screwdriver, we're gonna take our pin. What we're trying to do now is slide the pin into this hole. So how we do that is we put the screwdriver through here so it acts as a little bit of a support. We're gonna pull the rod up slightly, and we're gonna line the hole up just like that. Okay, and we're gonna take our pin, make sure it's clean, slide it in. Let's see if we can get it to line up. There we go. Now, we're gonna take this guy, this little forky thing, and this little slot here is going to mesh over top of that little lever that we just installed. So how we do that is, we're gonna kind of put it in like this. We're gonna lift the rod up. See, as I lift the rod up, the little lever is moving up and down. So I'm gonna have it come down like that. Slide this in, just enough for it to wrap over top of that little lever. And just let it sit like that for a sec. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna turn this thing this way. And this is actually gonna line up with this hole right here. And we're gonna put a pin in there to hold it in place. But for now, just kind of leave it like that. And then we're gonna take our next rod right here. And I've cleaned this one off already. There's a hole here and a hole here. And then we've got these little indentations here, which are gonna line up with this hole here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide it in through here. Just kind of gently slide it through. Make it line up with this guy right here. And then we also have to have it line up. Might want to pull this rod up a bit. We have to have it line up with this hole here. So just carefully get it to line up. And then we're gonna put it into this hole, but careful, there's little bearings in there. We don't want to damage them. So just kind of carefully get it in there. And again, we want these little indentations to line up with this hole here. So what I'm gonna do, like I said, this is the tricky side. So I'm just gonna kind of get in there slowly and gently. And there. Now you see this hole here? There's gonna be a pin that goes there. So we'll deal with that later. The next one is this rod here. Now this rod here is right here. See this? And this one actually has threads in it because we're gonna put a bolt right here. Gonna move it around a bit. Again, these little indentations have to line up with the hole here. Just like that. Feels like there's a little bit of friction there. It's okay. Okay, good to go. See the hole here? It lines up right there. Good to go. All right, guys, so we're on this side of the transmission now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna be installing the two 10mm bolts that go onto these shift forks. We've got 3 in total, 2 on this side, 1 on that side, and then we'll move to the other side to install the pins as well as the C-clip that goes around that lever. This one here, line this up, thread it in. There is a torque spec for these, obviously, as there is for pretty much any bolt. I'm just gonna kind of feel it out first. There was some thread locker, this blue thread locker, but I'm not gonna use it. I think it's pretty tight as it is. Yeah, those threads are pretty stiff threads there. Just wanna be careful, we don't want to strip the threads, so go slow. We're just gonna put them in, feel them out, just get them snug for now. Might help to hold the rod, just to prevent excessive movement. Okay, let me see how tight I can go with this without breaking it. Not entirely sure how tight I want to go with it. Oh, okay. It just went into gear. I want to be careful. I don't want to put too much pressure on the brass shift fork pads either. I mean, realistically, I don't think that's coming loose. And I don't want to break that bolt either. Jeez. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna install the C-clip that goes on this pin here. This is the C-clip, and I'm gonna see if I can just kind of pop it on, but it seems like it's pretty stiff. Okay, I don't wanna cut myself, so let me see if I can use a pair of pliers. Just gonna go like this. I'm gonna grab a pair of needle nose pliers like these. There it is. Whew. Okay, that's on. We got our 10mm bolt right here. That's gonna go right here. Just gonna lift the rod up a little bit. Start the threads real quick. I don't think there's a really excessive amount of torque required for this. Oh, okay. That is what you don't do. Just hold the stack in place so it doesn't damage any of the components. don't have any more of these bolts, so I don't want to break them. Okay, now for our pins, we've got one long pin and two short pins. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna punch these in to the holes. So I'm gonna start with the long pin, and that goes right here. And then the two short pins, one goes right here, and then the other one goes right here. So let's start with the long one. What I'm gonna do is carefully line up this rod, line up the hole, like that. And I'm going to take the pin, slide it in, and I'm going to just get it started with the hammer. I wanna make sure the hole stays lined up. Okay, looks like it's going in. Perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna kinda go until it gets flat, very light. Now you gotta be careful because you don't wanna damage anything here. And also, we wanna check the other side to make sure we're not going too far out. What I find is that as long as you get it flush with the fork, the other side is gonna be flush also. So, let's keep going a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a look on the other side. I'm gonna give it one little love tap to go a little bit further in, and I think we're good. Now to give it a love tap, I'm gonna use this punch. I'm just gonna give it a little tap right here. One more. I think that should be good. Perfect. Let's move on to the next pin. I don't want to create too much vibration. Check the other side. I'm gonna go a little further in on this one. Now this one looks like it wants to go a little more. So I'm gonna grab this little guy. I'm gonna go just a little bit further in to make sure that it's flush on this side to the same level of flushness that it is on this side. This is what we do as car enthusiasts. Check the other side. I think that's okay. I think that's good. I think we're good. A little flakiness. Okay, now let's do this pin. This is the final small pin. Okay, looks like it's going in. Little by little. No rush on this, guys, no rush on this. You can make music while you're doing it, but I wouldn't recommend that. I'm gonna check the other side, make sure it's flush on both sides. Okay, we're gonna come through a little more. All right, guys, we got our 10 mil in, we got our 3 pins in, we got our clip in, we got our 10 mils on the other side in. Let's move on to the next step. We're gonna install these 2 12mm bolts and washers. One of them goes right here, in this little hole right here, and the other one goes in this hole right here. I'm gonna put this one in first. Looks like these just hold the bearings, these main bearings down. A little extra precaution. These little wobble wrenches are pretty cool. They definitely help. Okay. There we go. All right, so the next step now is we're gonna take this shield, this little splash shield. I've already kind of wiped it down. It's gonna go like this. And we're gonna take our 2 little 10mm bolts here, start them by hand. Just snug, nothing crazy. Just don't want it to come loose. So the next step now, we're gonna be installing the magnet. I can't remember exactly which way I took it out, because if you take a look at this side, it's got these circular little divots in there, and on this side, it's completely flat. So I've wiped it off nice and clean. And what I'm gonna do, I've already tested it, and it's magnetic on either side. So I don't really think it matters which way you put it in. Every side has some magnetism to it. So I'm gonna put the divots, the circular divots, facing that way. And that's it. So now we're gonna put these little detent balls and spring cylinders in place. They go in here. I've already wiped them down with a microfiber rag, so everything is pretty clean. What I'm gonna do is just verify that there's nothing binding on the spring. Make sure nothing's binding, it's moving freely. I'm gonna inspect the holes, right? We've got a hole here, and then there's 2 on the other side. So we've got a total of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 balls, and then we've got the 6mm Allen key head bolts that go in place here, and we're gonna have to apply some thread sealant on this, just so we don't get any transmission fluid leaks. Let's grab this guy, like this. I'm gonna kind of put it in, something like that. Same thing with this one. Make sure it goes in. Put your screwdriver there. See how it feels with the rod going up and down. See this one as well. Make sure the rod doesn't actually come out. Okay, cool. Here's the thread sealant from Permatex, high temperature. And obviously you want to make sure these threads on these bolts are clean too. I don't know how to shake this properly. Okay. I'm just gonna try and spread it out. I just want it to be even. I don't really want too much on the front face here. And then I'll thread it in. Let's start with this one. 6mm Allen key. Let's tighten it up. All right, let's do this one now. Probably don't need that much. I'm gonna spread it. All right, let's move to the other side. Make sure these holes are clean, free of debris and or sand and or junk. There is like a glue that they put on from the factory. It's like an orange color or something like that. Maybe it's their form of thread sealant, but we're using Permatex because that's all I can afford. Moves freely, perfect. Pop that in there. Okay, next guy. Okay, really gotta line those threads up. Permatex kind of has an interesting smell to it. So one important thing to note is make sure that your shift forks and rods are in neutral, because if they're not in neutral, the little indentations on the rods will not line up with the ball and spring that you put in. If you have it in gear, for example, there's a little indentation that's not gonna line up. So just make sure you're in neutral, and you can even take a little flashlight, look inside and make sure the indentation on the rod is correctly lined up, so that when you go to tighten down this bolt here, the ball and spring compress evenly. So the next thing I'm gonna do here is double check that everything is squeaky clean. I'm gonna make sure the mating surfaces here are nice and clean. I'm gonna make sure there's no dirt or sand anywhere in this area. And I'm also gonna do the same thing for this upper casing. Mating surfaces, I'm gonna use a razor blade just to kind of flatly kind of scrape off this old gasket maker. I'm also gonna give a really good thorough inspection of the inside of the casing to make sure I don't see any sand or anything like that. And then I'm gonna test fit this casing onto this one loosely without putting any RTV gasket maker on it just yet. And the reason for doing that is I wanna make sure that this reverse gear, the threads, there's that big reverse gear bolt that has to thread in through the casing and line up here with these threads. So I want to make sure that we're properly oriented, and test fitting it is going to allow me to do that. So one other thing that I was a little bit concerned about was I going to have any issues? Yeah, like, was I going to have any problems changing the third gear with a brand new one? Because obviously this brand new gear doesn't have any wear on the teeth whatsoever. So I was worried that there would be issues with, let's say, gear lash when it's being driven on the input shaft by a pretty much used gear. You know, a used gear meshing up with a brand new gear that has no wear marks on it whatsoever. So what I did read online was that you might have a little bit of noise from the gear, but I wanted to investigate a little bit further, like what's involved with, you know, checks and stuff like that. Like, what are there any adjustments or shims per se in these transmission? So what I ended up doing was I ended up looking online for the workshop manual specific to these transmissions, and what I found was that there's actually a detailed workshop manual. So I managed to download it off the web, and I read through it, and it turns out that there's actually some adjustment shims on the lower casing as well as on the top casing, and it's above this bearing here. So you can see this little half piece of metal here. It's like a halfway metal. It's not a full circle. But these shims, they come in various thicknesses. And the reason why you would need to change the thickness of that shim would be depending on whether or not you need to. And how do you determine whether or not you need to change the thickness of those shims? Well, as per the workshop manual, you would take that casing, install it onto here, tighten all the bolts down without RTV gasket maker, obviously, because you might need to take it back off to make an adjustment to that shim or change the shim with a different thickness. And what you would then do is you would take a torque wrench and you would try and rotate the assembly right here. And depending how much torque is required before the assembly starts to rotate would determine whether or not you need to change that shim out with a thicker one or a thinner one. If you have too much force required to rotate the assembly, you would need to go with thinner shims. If there's not enough torque required to turn the assembly, you'd have to go with thicker shims. So that's basically how the final adjustments are done in terms of getting the preload right and all that kind of stuff. Luckily, I'm not gonna have to do that because all I did was change third gear. Everything else is the same. The casings are the same. Nothing else has changed. So aside from the possibility that I might get a little bit of noise from third gear with an old gear meshing up with a new gear, I think we'll be okay. Let's clean this up. Gotta make sure this gasket maker doesn't get inside. Make sure this plastic piece stays in place. It looks like a pickup tube for oil. Once the majority of this gasket maker is removed, I'll take a microfiber, spray a little bit of brake cleaner on it, and just kind of work my way around just to try to get rid of the last little remaining amounts. There's these little scratches here and dents from when I was prying the two casings apart. So just be careful that you're very careful when separating the two halves, because this is gonna create, you know, an uneven surface, and that might cause a leak. So I might have to smooth that out a little bit with some sandpaper. So I want to take a microfiber now, spray some brake clean on it. This has to be completely dry and completely clean prior to putting gasket maker on. Otherwise you run the risk of having it leak. I'm just gonna go around like so. And already you can see just how much dirt there is on there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we don't want any leaks. So let's try our best. Do the same thing over here. The last thing we want is to have to take the transmission back out of the car just to reseal this. But of course, right now, I'm gonna give it probably one final wipe prior to actually putting the RTV on. This is just so we can test fit it to make sure that reverse gear lines up properly. Man, I can't wait to get this car back on the road. I figured I'd just get it on the road, get it running, get rid of the 6-port auxiliary fuel injection kit for now. Just run the stock fuel system for a little bit, save up some money, and get a proper regulated 8th port auxiliary fuel injection kit. And I was actually thinking about going with the one from Corksport because they have that separate fuel cell. And I just like the way that sounds, and it's simplified. I can run methanol in there, or E85 or whatever, and I don't have to worry about what's in the actual gas tank, just run 94, or pump gas rather. Make sure everything in here is somewhat clean. I don't feel any pieces of sand or anything. The key with this whole thing, guys, is just take your time, keep things clean, and try to do a good job. All right, so I checked things over. It looks as clean as I can possibly make it right now. So we're gonna do a test fit now. Takes a little bit of patience to get these rods to line up. Okay, it looks like we're loosely in place there. Just gonna check to see where the hole is. You know what? We're pretty close. I'm gonna get my thin little long Phillips screwdriver. Just check the hole here. Rotate it right about there. Perfect. So that's kind of all I really wanted to make sure of, was that the reverse gear is lined up. Okay, I'm gonna take this back off gently. Okay, so it's been about a week and I had to rethink how I was going to do this because I ran into an issue when putting this casing onto that casing. And I wanna share with you guys what I would highly recommend to do so that you don't run into the same kind of stress that I had to deal with last week. So what I ended up doing was I ended up lifting the entire transmission here onto some bricks. And what this allows me to do is stick my hand under here and grab the input shaft. And the reason why I need to do that is because when we're reinstalling this half of the casing onto that half of the casing, we need to grab the input shaft from underneath there and we need to push up on it. And pushing up on it is going to allow us to properly seat these little C-clips. Now this C-clip here, by pushing up on the input shaft, will line up. But then we're also gonna have to remove this access plug here, this little screw here, and that's gonna give us access to this shaft right here. And then we can take like a small 45-degree pick or anything that's strong enough to kind of stick in through this hole without breaking, of course, and kind of pull up on the entire shaft. And that's gonna allow us to line up those C-clips into these grooves. So what happened with me was, since I had the transmission on the ground completely flat, the only way for me to get my hand underneath to push up on the input shaft was to tilt the transmission partially sideways. So when I tilted the transmission sort of sideways to get my hand underneath, the fluid that was right here started leaking out the side, and that completely ruined my gasket maker. So what ended up happening was I had to remove everything, clean up all the gasket maker, and now here we are. Surfaces are now re-cleaned, and now we're gonna try it again. So, word of advice, before trying to reinstall the halves, get this side elevated on some bricks to keep it flat so you can get your hand underneath to push up on the input shaft. And then what we're gonna do is when we get this half of the casing onto the side there, we'll be able to take this access screw out or this access plug out so we can then pull up on this shaft to get the C-clips to line up. All right, so I've got the casing installed loosely, no gasket maker yet. Still got a bit of a gap there, just doing a dry fit. And the reason why I'm doing a dry fit is because I need to double check that the reverse gear, the little screw hole, is properly lined up, and the screw hole is right here. So let me see if I can get in here. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look inside the hole here, see if I can get my little flashlight in here. See that hole there? It's lined up. So we got our reverse gear lined up. Now I can take this half off again, make sure it's clean, and then we'll put some gasket maker on and give this another shot. All right, so I've applied some gasket maker here onto the mating surface. Now I'm just gonna spread it out evenly with my finger. Should probably use some gloves for this, but it's all good. Just wanna make sure it's all spread out nice and even so we don't have any leaks. And technically you don't really need a thick layer because a lot of this is just gonna get squeezed out when we tighten the two halves together. And what I'm gonna do is take my finger, my other finger, clean finger, just kind of clean the inside off a little. Any overlap that might have gone into the inside, just kind of get it off. Alrighty, let's do this. I'm gonna take this top half here. I'm gonna add a small amount of lubrication to these outer bearing races and double check that they're clean. So I'm gonna grab just a touch of this fluid here. Just add a little bit of lubrication here. Make sure it doesn't get on the mating surface. A little bit down here. And just make sure that everything is clean. Once those rods line up, everything should go in. Gotta get the rods to line up. Okay. All right, so it's partially in, but it's not fully seated yet. All right, so what we're gonna do now is the C-clips up here have to line up with those grooves. So now that I've got the transmission elevated, mating surfaces are clean, the dowel pins are all lined up, but we're not fully seated yet. So to get this fully seated, I'm gonna grab my C-clip pliers. Remember these guys? We're just gonna remove this Allen key bolt right here, 6mm. Just hold it stable. It's actually pretty loose, wow. This is gonna give us access to the top side of this shaft here, because we're gonna need to pull up on it to get the C-clip to go into that groove. And that was my mistake the first time around. Remember, elevate it up so you can get your hand on this shaft where the input is. And then once we're on, we're gonna remove this for access to pull up on this shaft. I'm gonna just wiggle the input shaft up and down a little bit here. See how the input shaft goes up and down like that? See that? We're gonna need to make that happen. Let me see if I can spread this a little bit first. Yeah, spread this into the groove. Open these up, right? And then what's gonna happen is, as you spread, you're just gonna kind of tap the casing down. Use your mallet to kind of, don't hit too hard. Okay, it's going in. Now our C-clips are kind of on the outer circumference of the bearings. I'm gonna grab this C-clip here on this input shaft, spread that open, give it a little tap. And now this is where I'm gonna put my hand on the input shaft and just kind of push it up a bit. There we go. Okay. Now, a few more taps. You see how the outer race on the bearings is kind of keeping the C-clips open? I'm gonna very lightly see if I can get the casing to go down further. Looks like it's working here. Looks like the input shaft C-clip is gonna go in first, and then I'm gonna have to work this other stack upwards to get that C-clip to line up. It takes a little bit of finesse, guys, and I've been working on this transmission for quite a while now because I haven't had a whole lot of time, but we're getting there slowly. Okay, looks like the gasket maker's starting to come down. Okay, let me just see if I can get this C-clip to line up. Oh, it fell. Let me push the input shaft up again. Oh, there we go. C-clip is in for the input shaft. Now, let's see this one. I'm gonna have to pull this shaft up so the C-clip goes in, but I'm kind of worried. I don't want to break my 45-degree pick or anything like that. Let's see here. Does it move? Ah, gotta be so careful with this kind of stuff. Just need to pull it up a bit. There we go. There it is. See that? It's clicked in. Awesome. Okay, so C-clips are in. I'll give you guys a close-up in just a sec. What I'm gonna work out now is I'm gonna try to get this casing to be fully bottomed out here on the dowels. Yeah, it looks like we're bottomed out. Okay, so I fully got the casing bottomed out. I gotta put the screws in quickly because I wanna make sure it's fully tightened down before the gasket maker dries. Taking a look here, this is the access plug that I removed. Those are the C-clips here. The input shaft C-clip will go into the groove first, and then, you know, by pushing up on the input shaft from the bottom, from underneath here, you're able to get it to line up. And then this one here, you have to get the little 45-degree pick or something strong that's not gonna break. I mean, I wouldn't use a cheap pick. This is actually from Mac Tools, so it's a pretty decent quality one. Just something to kind of pull it up, and as you pull it up, you wanna make sure that the C-clip is spread open and in its groove there, or in its cavity rather, and as you pull up on this, it'll just kind of snap into place into the groove. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is this access plug, after I finish tightening these, because I wanna make sure the gasket maker doesn't dry, what I'll do is I'll clean this off, put some thread sealant on it, and just tighten it down. So let's go ahead and start putting these bolts in. Before I even put these on, guys, I'm just gonna double check that the reverse gear is still lined up, which it is. Perfection. Pretty close, just gonna move it a bit. Perfect. Now, I'm gonna take these, blow them off, make sure they're clean, start them off, thread them in. The gasket maker might create a little bit of restriction there to movement, but little by little, Snowball is gonna be pulling on some BMW M3s. At least I hope so. There is a torque spec for these. I don't exactly know what they are, but I'm just gonna tighten it evenly and go by hand. My recommendation, get your hands on the proper workshop manual and follow the rules. Little by little. Look at all that gasket maker just squeezing out. Yeah, I probably didn't need that much gasket maker. I mean, you think it's gonna cause a problem? Maybe it's gonna get where the synchros are? I don't know. I'm not gonna take it back off now. But yeah, I think I might have put a little too much gasket maker there. I don't think you need that much. See how much it's squeezing out? Alrighty guys, so as you can see here, everything looks exactly the same as we left it. And believe it or not, it's actually been several weeks. So the reason why is because I actually had, got really, I got sick for like the past week or so I wasn't really able to get back on the job. But what I ended up doing off camera was I basically took the casing off a second time. And the reason for that was I was a little bit worried that maybe there was too much gasket maker that had squeezed out, potentially fragmenting and flaking off, and maybe that would have circulated inside the transmission, possibly getting in between some of the synchronizer rings and possibly causing some issues with shifting. This is just totally my paranoia just kicking in, and that's why I had to take it off. But the other reason why I also took the casing off a second time was because I was worried that that little white plastic fluid guide thing, that little plastic piece that was in there, I was worried that it possibly had dislodged from the top side of the casing when applying it, because I was trying to get it on and hammering it around and things weren't going so smooth. So that was another reason why I decided to take it back off, clean everything up again, and reinstall it. This time around, I actually put less gasket maker, so it's not as much squeezed out, and I think we should be good because it has been several weeks now. When installing these bolts, I basically just kind of went in hand tight, just kind of snugged them down with a gun evenly. And then I couldn't film the 6 bolts on the inside of the housing there. So I kind of just had to shift the bricks over a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, just so I can get my hand in there, get a ratchet in there, and just kind of slowly and evenly tighten all the bolts down. There is a torque spec, but I just kind of went by feel on this, and I think it should be good to go. Now, the next phase is to go in reverse order, and the next thing we're gonna be installing is this big plug here. So let's get to it. I'm gonna apply some thread sealant to it, and I'm also gonna install this 6mm Allen key, clean it off, and also apply some thread sealant to it. And those are gonna go right here and right here. All right, so we're on the workbench again. Got my good old thread sealant by Permatex. We've got our large Allen key plug and our small Allen key plug, and I'm just gonna quickly wipe the threads down a little bit here, make sure everything is clean and dry, free of oils, free of transmission fluid. See all of that stuff, the old thread sealant, but this is more like a glue of some kind. It's like solidified. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we want to prevent the chances for leaks as much as possible. Okay. Let's grab some of our thread sealant, squeeze some out. There we go. Okay, there's one. All right, let's go install them. Inline 6, sorry, what am I thinking? Allen key number 6 millimeter. We've got our massive 27 millimeter Allen key. Let's go ahead and start with the big one. Just gonna thread them both in, make sure it's clean. As long as it doesn't leak, that is the key. That is the key. Okay, start it. I can't wait to get this car back up and running. It's gonna be a while because I gotta save up for a clutch. And once I get the clutch, then I'll be able to start saving up for the actual engine build. Okay, just a little bit at a time here. Oh yes. Just get it bottomed out. Look at that, a little bit of that thread sealant squeezing out a bit, which is, I guess, a good sign. Thank God it didn't fall inside the transmission. Whew. Okay, perfecto. Now I'm not gonna go too crazy tight. Just start it with that. This big one now, I'm gonna hold this transmission like so, with my knee. Just kind of get it. Okay, that thing is moving. I mean, that's pretty tight already. I mean, where's that gonna go? You know what I mean? It's just an access plug. So I think we're good there. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and install the reverse gear bolt right here. And that is going to go right here. I've verified that it's already lined up. Let's get the wires out of the way. Just gonna put it in right here. Tighten it up. Not sure, I think this bolt was actually very tight. So let me get some leverage here. I also don't want to snap the bolt either. Okay, that should be good. I'm gonna tighten this 12 millimeter bolt down now. 17 millimeter reverse bolt is tight, and 12 millimeter bolt holding these wires in place is tight. Now, instead of putting the fork and release bearing back on, as well as these brackets, since I've already got the transmission up on these bricks, I'm gonna skip ahead and just go right for the shifter here. Because these, I can actually put these on after I've taken the transmission off of the bricks. I'm gonna clean the surface off as much as possible, get rid of some of this transmission fluid from here, because I don't want it to contaminate the gasket maker. All right, so I just stuck a rag in here, verified that it's clean. I just don't want any of this old gasket maker to fall in there. So what I'm gonna do is be very careful here and just kind of work along the edge here with my razor blade. Just kind of get rid of some of this stuff. Can't wait to start driving this car again. Like I said, I'm gonna get rid of the 6-port kit, 6th-port auxiliary fuel injection kit. I'm not gonna be running that anymore once I get this thing back on the road. I'm just gonna run the stock fuel system for a little while, and then I'll save up some money for Cork Sport's 8th-port auxiliary fuel cell kit. I'm also gonna have to buy their version 2 intake manifold, because I really like their kit. I really like the idea that you can run a separate fuel cell with a high-octane fuel with ID 1050X injectors that are rated for alcohol and stuff like that, and it only kicks on under boost. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll run the stock fuel system for a little bit, see how I like the stock fuel system. It's easier to tune the stock fuel system anyways, because you don't have to deal with an auxiliary fuel kit to tune, like a separate fuel map to tune and dial in. So your air to fuel ratios are definitely a lot more accurate. But obviously with a good auxiliary fuel injection kit with a regulator, you know, it's also going to be pretty accurate with fueling. With the 6-port kit, it was non-regulated, so the boost pressure would have a big effect on the fuel delivery because it wasn't really a boost referenced fuel pressure per se. There's a lot of knowledge when it comes to learning about these cars, but once you get it, you get it. It's not complicated. I want to leave at least 24 hours for the gasket maker to cure. I'm going to get a little bit of brake clean, and in this little area here, I see some transmission fluid in there, so I'm just gonna lightly see if I can clean that out. I'll let it dilute in there a little bit. The reason why I want to clean out this transmission fluid is because when I put the gasket maker on, if the transmission fluid soaks and touches the gasket maker's not going to cure properly, and we might have a leak. So I definitely want to clear out as much of that transmission fluid in there, and the surface has to be clean and dry. So I'm going to take my rag, take a little screwdriver, kind of fold it up, just kind of stick this in there, see if I can absorb some of that. Whoa, it is windy outside. Grab this, just kind of stick it in here. There we go. The cleaner the surface is, the better. All right, so we got this one nice and clean. Now we gotta clean the other side. So I'm gonna grab my whole shifter assembly here. Okay, so I got the whole shifter assembly thing on the workbench, and I'm gonna clean up this surface right here. You can see some old gasket maker there. Kind of work it slow and steady. Give it that little extra TLC. Let the brake clean do some chemical work. I'm gonna do a test fit on the transmission just to make sure everything goes in smoothly. And then once I've verified that everything is smooth, then I'll apply some gasket maker to it. Okay, so one thing I also want to mention to you guys is there is actually a seal along this shaft here that prevents transmission fluid from leaking out past this boot. So just make sure that when you're handling this, you're being very careful, because I worry that the seal might get damaged and it might cause a leak. So in this area here, there's a lot of crud buildup, so I would definitely recommend to clear some of this out with a screwdriver. I'm just kind of scraping at it like so. See, this is all the crud that came out from there. A little bit of brake clean on here. I mean, it's an old car, it's a 2009, so dirt is bound to accumulate. Okay, so interesting thing here, guys, before we go ahead and flip the transmission back on its side to install the shifter, because I'm thinking I'm probably gonna take the transmission, flip it back down, take it off the bricks, and have it so that the opening here is facing upwards, just to make it easier for us. I did a test fit, so I had the shifter assembly here dry. I didn't put any gasket maker on it. And what I did was I actually installed it just to see how it would go in. And what I found was that it was actually quite difficult to install. So what I found helps is keeping it straight like so. And what you want to do is you kind of want to go in slowly. Keep in mind, you're going to have to worry about these switches here, these little ball switches for the positions of the gears, which gear you're in kind of thing. You're going to want to watch out for those, be gentle. What you're going to do is you're going to want to have this in the straight position here. You don't want to have it going in sideways or this way. You want to have it straight, and you're going to want to have the shift forks in neutral. As you can see here, they're all lined up all the way down. And as you're going in, you're going to want to line up this part of the shaft into that hole there at the very end. Once you get this into the little hole there at the very end, you just kind of have to wiggle it slowly into place, and then it should just snap right in. So I'm gonna go ahead, flip the transmission over. We'll apply some gasket maker to this mating surface right here, and then we'll install it. And just like that, the transmission is now flipped over, and we have a clear view to the inside there. Everything here is clean, dry. Let's head over to the workbench. And now we're gonna take our gasket maker. Wow, there's not really a whole lot left in here. Just kind of work around it slowly. All right, I think that should be good enough. I can go ahead and spread it with my finger now. This stuff's pretty thick. It almost feels like it cures fast. So I'm just spreading it out nice and even. And the extra on the side, I'm just kind of wiping off. All right, we're ready to go install it. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get this in. So I'm gonna keep this straight, right? You wanna keep this kind of straight like this. You don't want it like this, and you don't want it like this. You wanna keep it like this. And then our first goal is to get it in, and we wanna line this shaft up with the bearing at the bottom. So let me see if I can do this from this angle now. So, nice and easy. Just gonna go like this. Get this lined up first. be a little bit tricky to see. Nice and easy, no need to stress. If I had a flashlight for every time I said that, then I'd probably know what I'm doing. All right, let's try and get it in the hole. Okay, calm down. Let's see where this hole is. Am I in the hole? Oh, I think it just kind of fell in there. Okay. The universe was looking out for me on that one. Now I'm gonna try and line up this flange here with the dowels. There. Okay, I got the flange on, and you can see some of the gasket makers partially squeezing out, but I just want to verify that everything is smooth by checking it. Okay, that's good. It should go up as well. Okay, so now that's in gear, either third or fourth, I'm not sure. That's in gear, either third or fourth, I'm not sure. I think this might be fifth or sixth. And then one down here is gonna be first or second. And then if we go even further, that's reverse. Yeah, that was a bit tricky, but with a little bit of patience, you can make it a reality. Now we have to install this little bracket pivot piece. We've got our little plastic adapter piece that slides into this groove here that we just finished cleaning. And then obviously, this plastic piece will slide over top of this part right here. And then we've got our bolts. 4 of them are all the same size, and 1 of them is shorter. So what I'm gonna do first is I've already gone ahead and cleaned off these components as much as I possibly can right now. You see this bolt right here? This one becomes hard to tighten when this piece is installed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna get this one tightened first. I'll just thread these in loosely first, these long ones. Get them started. I'm gonna leave this one off and this one off for now. I'm just gonna tighten these ones, these 3 here. 12 millimeter. You can already see the gasket maker just squeezing out. Okay, I'm just gonna go evenly. It's just gonna make it easier for us. Get these tightened nicely. Get this plastic piece in here. You know, it might even be better without any grease, because the grease just attracts dirt, doesn't it? I'm not an engineer, guys. I'm just a mechanically inclined individual. Is this the same on both sides? Yep. Okay, that looks good right there. Let's go ahead, put the long bolt right here, and then put our short bolt right here. Make sure this is sitting this way to make sure it's in here. Okay. Is that? All right, guys, so moving on to the next step now. Let's take a look at our parts. As you can see here, we don't have a lot of things remaining. We've obviously got our clutch fork and our release bearing, but we're gonna wait until the new clutch or the upgraded clutch arrives in the mail before we go ahead and install those, because I want to replace the release bearing. And once the new release bearing comes in with the new clutch, then we'll go ahead and install it along with the fork simultaneously. So the next step is we're gonna be installing these brackets and this final bolt. And this bolt's gonna have to get cleaned, and I'm gonna apply some thread sealant to that. So let's go ahead and install these brackets. Okay guys, so we're gonna be installing the bracket that goes here, which is this one. And it's got 2 10 millimeters holding it in place. This goes like this. No, sorry, it goes like this. This is actually where the little grommet goes that holds the shifter cables in place. Get our 2 10 mil bolts, line these up. Check it by hand. This doesn't have to be crazy tight, because obviously these are small bolts. You do not want to snap these. I have this bad habit of like rechecking and rechecking and rechecking the tightness until all of a sudden it just starts spinning. All right, so this next bracket is also held in by two 10mm bolts, and it goes right here. Now let's see, does it go this way or does it go this way? Oh, it goes this way, just like that. And I'm pretty sure this holds in the wiring harness for the engine. Checking by hand anyways. We don't want this to fall off at 1500 horsepower. All right guys, and we've got the final bolt here, which is this one. I'm gonna clean it up, apply some thread sealant to it, and install it right here. Nicely coated in thread sealant. It's a 14mm bolt. Look at all that thread sealant. Tighten it by hand. Where's it gonna go? I don't wanna snap it. Okay, that should be good. All right guys, so the transmission is fully assembled now, and I'm quite excited to say that I am finally finished with it because I don't want to deal with it anymore. It's been like 3 months researching this, reassembling it, getting all the parts, filming it, editing it. 3 months total. But then again, I was taking my time. I was in absolutely no rush. So, you know, it is what it is. But hopefully everything goes well with this thing. Hopefully when we put it back in the car and drive it, third gear doesn't just grenade on us, right? Because God knows what'll happen at this point, right? I mean, I took the thing apart, put some brass shift fork pads in it, replaced third gear, replaced the synchronizer ring set for third gear, refurbished the third and fourth gear shift sleeve, tightened everything up, put some new gasket maker on there, tried to be as clean as I possibly could, tried not to damage any of the seals. We'll see what happens. But either way, if you have any questions, leave a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I can. You can also message me on Instagram. Just search up wannabe_tuners and I'll get back to you there as well. Stay tuned for more content. There's a lot left to do on this build, and I'm pretty excited for some of the stuff that we're going to be, for example, the cylinder head. We're going to be porting and polishing that. That's going to be my first time doing that, and I'm pretty excited for that. And then once I get the clutch, I'm going to be getting an upgraded clutch. I'm going with a Clutch Masters FX350. That's the plan. And once that comes in the mail, I'll make a video on that as well. Keep you guys updated and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be really exciting once this thing's all finished. The engine work is going to be the biggest aspect of this build, obviously, because, you know, Darton MID sleeves, you know, that's going to be a huge investment financially, but I hope everything goes smoothly with that. Hopefully by the time we're ready to start engine work, hopefully that machine shop doesn't shut down, you know, we'll see what happens. But stay tuned, guys. Hit the notification bell, subscribe button, all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.